We live in a world that often glorifies happiness. Social media feeds overflow with picture-perfect lives. Advertising tells us that we need this product or that experience to achieve ultimate bliss. It's easy to feel pressured to be positive all the time, to paste on a smile even when our insides are crumbling. But what happens when we deny our true emotions? What happens when sadness, anger, or grief are swept under the rug of forced positivity? This relentless pursuit of happiness can become a double-edged sword. While genuine positivity can enhance well-being, the forced variety can be detrimental to our mental health. This is where we encounter the toxic side of positivity, the insidious pressure to suppress, deny, and invalidate our authentic emotional experiences. Imagine confiding in a friend about a personal struggle, only to be met with a dismissive, "Just think positive." Instead of feeling heard and supported, you're left feeling invalidated and even more alone. This is the paradox of toxic positivity. It masquerades as encouragement but often leads to feelings of isolation and shame. When we're constantly told to look on the bright side, we internalize the message that our negative emotions are not acceptable, that they are something to be ashamed of. This emotional suppression can have serious consequences for our mental and physical well-being. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Eventually, the pressure becomes too much and it bursts to the surface. Toxic positivity is the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state that results in the denial, minimization, and invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience. It is the belief that no matter how difficult or painful a situation is, we should always focus on the positive and suppress any negative emotions. In essence, toxic positivity is a form of emotional avoidance disguised as optimism. While it may seem harmless on the surface, it can have detrimental effects on our mental health, relationships, and overall well-being. In the following sections, we will delve deeper into the reasons behind toxic positivity, its harmful consequences, and how we can cultivate a healthier, more authentic approach to our emotional lives. Toxic positivity can manifest in many subtle ways, often disguised as well-meaning advice or encouragement. It's the friend who tells you to just cheer up when you're grieving a loss. It's the colleague who brushes off your work-related stress with a breezy, "At least you have a job." These seemingly harmless platitudes can actually be quite damaging, as they invalidate our feelings and make us feel like we're not allowed to experience the full spectrum of human emotions. Toxic positivity thrives on superficiality, prioritizing a facade of happiness over genuine emotional expression. It's the relentless pursuit of good vibes only, even when those vibes feel forced and inauthentic. One of the most insidious aspects of toxic positivity is its distortion of reality. When we buy into the idea that we should always be positive, we set ourselves up for disappointment and failure. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and disappointments, and it's unrealistic to expect that we'll always be able to maintain a positive outlook. Moreover, toxic positivity prevents us from fully experiencing and learning from our negative emotions. Sadness, anger, and fear are all natural human emotions that serve important purposes. Sadness allows us to process loss and connect with others on a deeper level. Anger can motivate us to make positive changes in our lives. Fear can protect us from danger. When we're in the throes of difficult emotions, the last thing we need is someone telling us to look on the bright side. What we really need is someone who is willing to sit with us in our pain, to listen without judgment, and to offer genuine support and empathy. Toxic positivity often prevents us from providing this type of support to others. We may feel uncomfortable with negative emotions, so we try to fix them or cheer people up, instead of simply listening and validating their feelings. This can create distance in our relationships, as people may feel like they can't come to us with their problems for fear of being judged or dismissed. Perhaps the most damaging aspect of toxic positivity is its perpetuation of shame. When we're constantly told to be positive, it's easy to internalize the message that our negative emotions are not acceptable, that they are something to be ashamed of. This can lead to a vicious cycle of emotional suppression as we try to hide our true feelings from ourselves and others. We may start to believe that we're not good enough, that there's something wrong with us for feeling the way we do. This shame can be incredibly isolating and can prevent us from seeking the help and support we need. In our hyper-connected world, social media has become both a platform for connection and a breeding ground for toxic positivity. Scrolling through our feeds, we're bombarded with images of picture-perfect lives, exotic vacations, flawless selfies, and declarations of unwavering happiness. It's easy to get caught up in this carefully curated illusion of constant bliss, forgetting that social media often presents a highly selective and edited version of reality. This constant exposure to idealized versions of others' lives can fuel feelings of inadequacy and pressure to maintain a facade of perpetual positivity. We may start to believe that our own lives are not exciting or fulfilling enough if they don't measure up to the curated highlight reels we see online. Social media has, in many ways, commodified happiness, turning it into a currency we feel pressured to accumulate and display. Likes, comments, and shares become metrics by which we judge our worth and social standing. This creates a dangerous feedback loop where we prioritize projecting an image of happiness over authentically experiencing and expressing our full range of emotions. The pressure to maintain this online persona can be particularly intense for influencers and content creators who build their platforms on a foundation of positivity and inspiration. While there's nothing inherently wrong with sharing positive messages, the pressure to maintain this image constantly can lead to inauthenticity and prevent these individuals from sharing their struggles and vulnerabilities. Social media often fuels the comparison trap, where we measure our own lives and happiness against the carefully curated images and narratives presented by others. We may find ourselves envying those who appear to have it all together while feeling inadequate about our own perceived shortcomings. This constant comparison can lead to feelings of envy, inadequacy, and self-doubt, further perpetuating the cycle of toxic positivity. We may start to believe that our own struggles are not valid, or that we're somehow failing if we're not experiencing the same level of happiness as those we follow online. In a world obsessed with positivity, vulnerability can feel like a liability. We may hesitate to share our struggles or express negative emotions for fear of judgment, rejection, or being perceived as negative or ungrateful. This fear of vulnerability can prevent us from seeking support, connecting with others authentically, and building meaningful relationships. Social media can exacerbate this fear, as our posts and comments are often subject to public scrutiny and judgment. We may worry about being perceived as weak or attention-seeking if we express vulnerability online, leading us to censor our true selves and perpetuate the cycle of toxic positivity. To understand the dangers of toxic positivity, we need to delve into the science of emotions. Our brains are wired to experience a full spectrum of emotions: joy, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, disgust. And each of these emotions serves a specific purpose. They provide us with valuable information about ourselves and the world around us. Emotions are not simply fleeting feelings. They are complex physiological and psychological responses that involve changes in our brain activity, hormone levels, and bodily sensations. They are essential for our survival, guiding our thoughts, behaviors, and interactions with others. Instead of viewing negative emotions as enemies to be suppressed or avoided, we need to start seeing them as messengers, valuable signals that something needs our attention. Sadness might be telling us that we're grieving a loss or feeling disconnected from loved ones. Anger might indicate that a boundary has been crossed or that we need to stand up for ourselves. Fear, while often unpleasant, can alert us to potential threats or dangers. When we suppress or deny these emotions, we not only miss out on important information but also risk exacerbating them in the long run. Research has shown that acknowledging and labeling our emotions can have a significant impact on our well-being. A study by Matthew Lieberman and his colleagues at UCLA found that putting feelings into words, a process known as affect labeling, can reduce the activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing fear and other emotions. When we can name our emotions, we're essentially taking control of them rather than letting them control us. This simple act of labeling can help us to regulate our emotional responses and prevent us from getting overwhelmed by difficult feelings. The good news is that our brains are incredibly adaptable. Through a concept called neuroplasticity, our brains can change and rewire themselves throughout our lives, even in response to our thoughts and experiences. This means that we can learn to relate to our emotions in healthier ways, even if we've been prone to toxic positivity in the past. By practicing mindfulness, self-compassion, and other emotional regulation techniques, we can train our brains to approach difficult emotions with greater acceptance and less judgment. This allows us to experience the full spectrum of human emotions without getting swept away by them, fostering greater emotional resilience and well-being. Imagine this. You're at work, feeling the weight of deadlines and a demanding boss, when you confide in a colleague about your stress. Instead of offering a listening ear or words of support, they retort with, "Well, at least you have a job." Some people would kill for this opportunity. While their intention might be to offer perspective, their words sting with a distinct lack of empathy. This is a prime example of toxic positivity in the workplace, where the pressure to appear always on can lead to the suppression of genuine emotions. The colleague, perhaps unconsciously, is prioritizing their own comfort over your need for validation. This type of toxic positivity can create a stifling work environment where vulnerability is perceived as weakness, hindering authentic connection and support among colleagues. Section 2. The friend who fixates on the positive. Friendships are our safe havens, the spaces where we should feel most comfortable being our true selves, flaws and all. However, even within these sacred bonds, toxic positivity can rear its head. Consider a friend who, when faced with your tales of romantic woes, consistently steers the conversation towards the silver lining. "You're so much better off without him. Just think of all the amazing people you'll meet now," they exclaim, their words laced with forced cheer. While their optimism might come from a good place, it disregards the very real pain of heartbreak you're experiencing. This constant focus on the positive, while well-intentioned, invalidates your feelings and can make you hesitant to confide in your friend in the future, eroding the trust and intimacy that are crucial to a healthy friendship. Section 3. The partner who dismisses. Intimate relationships are where the impact of toxic positivity can be most profound and damaging. Picture this. You're feeling anxious about a future event, your mind racing with worst-case scenarios. You turn to your partner for comfort and reassurance. Instead of acknowledging your fears, they brush them off with a dismissive, "Don't worry, it'll be fine, stop overthinking it." While their intention might be to alleviate your anxiety, their words have the opposite effect. Their toxic positivity invalidates your feelings and makes you feel unheard and unsupported. Over time, this pattern of dismissal can create a chasm of emotional distance, leaving you feeling alone in your anxieties and resentful of your partner's inability to provide comfort. Section 4. The self-sabotage of just be positive. Perhaps the most insidious form of toxic positivity is the kind we inflict upon ourselves. It's the inner critic that whispers, "Just be positive," when we're grappling with disappointment, grief, or failure. It's the voice that tells us to look on the bright side when our insides are crumbling. This internalized toxic positivity can be incredibly damaging. as it prevents us from acknowledging and processing our emotions in a healthy way. When we tell ourselves to just be positive, we're essentially silencing our own inner voice, denying ourselves the opportunity to heal and grow from our experiences. This self-sabotage can manifest in a variety of ways, from increased stress and anxiety to a diminished sense of self-worth. So how do we break free from the clutches of toxic positivity and foster genuine emotional connection? It starts with cultivating authentic empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Empathy is not about fixing, advising, or dismissing. It's about creating a safe space for others to express their full range of emotions without judgment. It's about listening with our whole selves, our ears, our hearts, and our minds, seeking to understand not just the words being spoken, but also the emotions beneath the surface. Cultivating authentic empathy requires us to first develop self-awareness, the ability to recognize and understand our own emotions. The more in tune we are with our own emotional landscape, the better equipped we are to navigate the emotional experiences of others. Section 2. The art of supportive communication. Once we've cultivated a foundation of empathy, we can begin to practice more supportive communication. This means replacing toxic positivity phrases like, "just be positive and look on the bright side," with more empathetic alternatives. Instead of dismissing someone's feelings, try validating them with phrases like, "that sounds incredibly difficult," "I can't imagine what you're going through. It's okay to feel sad, angry, or scared. Your feelings are valid. I'm here for you, whatever you need," even if you just need someone to listen. These simple yet powerful phrases convey empathy, understanding, and a willingness to sit with someone in their pain. They create a space for authentic connection and allow the other person to feel seen, heard, and supported. Section 3. Setting healthy boundaries. Just as it's important to offer empathy and support to others, it's equally crucial to establish healthy boundaries to protect our own emotional well-being. Encountering toxic positivity from others can be emotionally draining. It's essential to recognize when to disengage from conversations that feel invalidating or emotionally taxing. This might involve politely excusing yourself from the conversation, setting limits on how much time you spend with certain individuals, or directly addressing the issue with the person exhibiting toxic positivity. Remember, you have the right to protect your emotional space. It's not selfish to prioritize your own well-being when engaging with others. Section 4. Embracing imperfection. Ultimately, breaking free from the grip of toxic positivity requires us to embrace imperfection in ourselves and others. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of ups and downs. It's in those moments of vulnerability, when we allow ourselves to feel the full spectrum of human emotions, that we truly connect with ourselves and others on a deeper level. So the next time you're tempted to slap on a fake smile and pretend that everything is okay, pause for a moment. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. And remember, it's okay to not be okay. In those moments of vulnerability, you might just find the strength and resilience you need to navigate life's challenges with authenticity and grace. Section 1. Beyond the facade, embracing authentic positivity. We've journeyed through the complexities of toxic positivity, unmasking its subtle dangers, and exploring the science behind our emotional experiences. We've seen how this relentless pursuit of forced happiness can create a chasm between our true selves and the facades we present to the world. But amidst these cautionary tales, there's a beacon of hope. True positivity isn't about denying the difficult emotions. It's about acknowledging their presence while choosing to focus on hope, resilience, and the belief that better days are ahead. It's about recognizing that life is a tapestry of both light and shadow, and that our ability to embrace the full spectrum of human experience is what makes us whole. Let's move forward with a commitment to authenticity, compassion, and a deep understanding that it's okay to not be okay. In those moments of vulnerability, we open ourselves up to genuine connection, growth, and a life imbued with a far more profound and resilient form of positivity.